Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I'm your host, Chad. Joining me is Marcus. This is the Rebellion lead up to and sacrifice recap podcast. Marcus, how the hell are you?
Good man. This is be an interesting night for TNA fans.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be a slow week for us TNA fans, that's for sure. We're going to jump right into the show. We'll update. We'll talk about news as things progress through the actual dialogue of the conversation. First off, we got the extra matches I was hoping for. Ryan Nemeth versus BDE was added to the pre-show. It was fine. BDE is a decent athlete, and there's a lot of passion in his wrestling. You can tell this isn't just like jelly roll, right? I think this is a lot closer to what's the name, AJ Big Boom or whatever his name is, the Costco guys. But I think there's a lot
Mm,
more substance there. And in age, big AJ's defense, he's like 50, and he's been a pro wrestler for like 25 years. So like he's not gonna move like he once did. But BDE, I think, has all the talent necessary to be a mainstay. He's not a main event guy, but neither is
no.
Cody Deaner, and Cody Deaner might be the most over guy on the roster wherever he goes. And that could be BDE, right? Like he could be a guy who really invigorates the crowd, juices them up, gets them going, gets them amped and psyched for the rest of the show. He could even be a decent X Division champion in time. Like he's very young into his career. Like he's not some 30-year seasoned vet. I think he's on like year 3 or 4, if that.
Yeah, yeah. He's I was watching him in that tag match. He's fun to watch.
He is.
You can tell he loves the business and all that good stuff. He barely knows some stuff. Uh, he's got a lot of tools to build upon. I think if done right, given the time, given the right scenarios, he's going to be fun to watch get better. As are several names, I think, are in that same realm that we're going to get to on this show.
He's only really been training for 2 years. He started in 2019, but stopped early into the 2020 due to the pandemic and restarted in 2024. And he's only really been wrestling since 2025, or maybe late 2024, early 2025. So like he's very new, and now seeing who he came up through, I now know why he got signed to TNA. He came out of Sammy Callahan's promotion.
Mm,
So like if you come out of the Wrestling Revolver, or if you come out of Creator Pro, which is Brian Myers, you're gonna get signed. That seems to be the mentality right now, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Brian Myers and Sammy Callan know how to cultivate talent, so not a bad bet if you're coming up through them. I mean, if you just look at the Revolver's current champions, Trey Miguel, BDE, KJ Orso, and the Rascals hold most of the belts, with the only one who doesn't hold a belt, who's in TNA, being the only guy who's not in TNA who holds a belt. There we go. Is Cruel or Mads Kruger, depending on how you want to refer to him as. So, like, also, Kruger got stabbed this weekend. I don't know if you're.
yo, is that who that was?
Mads Cruel Kruger got stabbed by some psycho deathmatch fan. Brother, wrestling fans are fucking
He's
weird. I think we'll do a
he's
deeper
goddamn.
dive on that next week.
We no, you know what I'm kind of you us having to push these shows back is really kind of unintentionally kind of inspired some good stuff for us for the coming weeks.
Right?
Uh, because some fan, I don't know if you saw this, was basically stalked Stephanie Vaquer from one point to another. I think it was her birthday, and she said she tweeted out about it. The fan came on social media to have about it. And she was like, "I normally always stop for my fans, this, that, and the third, but I kind of politely declined. It was my birthday. I was having a very bad day, and you followed me from this point to another, very creepily, and it was just like these fans, man. Something got to be done.
I agree.
They really, they ruin it for all the good ones, and it's really just a whole. It's really a danger. for these performers, man, because not everybody rolls in packs. And with the downside scheduling of WWE, they don't necessarily move as much on the road anymore. So a lot of times, some of these people probably moving alone now, and it's just not good. That company makes too much money for the talent to be going through stuff like that.
Yeah, I think we'll talk more about fans next week. I think that's a real good topic, especially since we need to build up something into Rebellion. I don't think a Rebellion review
Yeah.
show or preview show is going to be enough to handle everything. Nemeth defeats BDE, solid match. Then we get this little moment with the system in Order 4, where basically Mustafa loans out Special Agent Zero to the system to handle Moose. That takes us
Hmm.
into Tessa Blanchard taking on um, Jody Threat. Solid match, nothing to write home about. Tessa gets the win. We move on from that. Opening match, a real banger. Credit to Eric Young. I don't give him a lot of credit, so like credit where it's due. He and Leon Slater had a hell of a match, and it was exactly the kind of
Yeah.
match I was hoping Young would give Slater. There was one wonky
Hmm.
spot where they're at the top, on the top rope, and I don't know what they were going for, but like it just didn't work. I think it was like supposed to be like a cutter or something, and it was really poorly timed. But I think it was a bigger spot than they had anticipated, and I think they were a little more disjointed than they thought they would be. Because like, it was midway through the
Yeah.
match. At that point, your muscles are screaming at you. Your cardiovascular system's working overtime. Getting your air back is so important. And sometimes something that may work for training or practice or what have you just doesn't work because your body's just not working the way you think it should in that moment. And I think that's what happened. Otherwise, though, I think this was a near flawless match. Fantastic way to go. I thought this was a nice avenue if you're TNA to get the belt off of Slater. If you're worried about
Hmm.
him leaving anytime soon, or if you want to start building up the next X Division guy, that's not where they went. Slater got the win. So I think they're going to roll into Slammiversary with him as champion. They may they may build up to Slater challenging for the world title. I think sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that needs to be the direction. And kudos, like you said, we don't always give Eric Young as much credit because at just times it just felt like he was in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this is to me the perfect execution and use of him, particularly for guys like Leon, who has been putting on some bangers. Um, I loosely feel, and we'll probably talk about this at another time. Loosely feel like he's being um, hindered uh, a little bit. So there's a potentiality for that, as we talked about before. But fingers crossed that he stays. They make it quality pitch for him to stay. But yeah, this kid, he's killing it right now. He's definitely the right one to hold the belt. Hopefully, like I said, they continue to line up competition. You can have matches like this because they built this up good. I think Young played a really good antagonist and, like you said, hell of a damn near flawless match. And yeah, he's continuing to get better. He's getting better on the mic, um, changing stuff up in the ring. I think didn't he hit a Styles Clash in there?
He did.
I think
He
he hit a
did.
Styles Clash in there. That was good. So incorporating different stuff like that. So yeah, he's coming along great. And they kicked off the show with a hell of a match. The X Division delivers to kick off the show yet again.
We got to see the legendary one man gang in the audience. That was great. He
Uh-huh.
is he's like 65. Might be older. He's 66. Oh, that was close. Seeing him was great. I have not seen him bald before, so I was like, what? But yeah, that's the one man gang. That's Akeem the African Dream, which was a parody on Dusty Rhodes. Like, okay. We then get I think a really solid tag team match. Followed the tag team match came after a Steve Macklin promo. I'm sorry, this Mike Santana promo that I thought was only okay. So like I was like, how's this tag team match gonna go? And it's Elijah and the Hometown Man versus AJ Francis and Frank Kazarian. And listen, Cody Deaner is not some exception. And I know that pisses a lot of people out. They're like, why is he even there? No one. and I mean this as sincerely as possible. And I don't know if you're going to take this as a compliment, those of you out there in TNA wrestling La La Land, or as an insult. But no one plays a crowd as well as Cody Deaner. That could either be me saying Cody Deaner is the best crowd worker in the company, or it could be me saying no one else is good enough to even get as good as Cody Deaner, which would be an insult. But I like to consider it as the former. I think he is just too good at working a crowd. I don't think it's a sign that anyone else isn't good enough. He's always been able to draw a crowd. He's always been able to get the crowd behind him. Again, he's not a world champion. I'm not naive to that. I'm not even going to suggest that he is. But I do think fans should realize that the hometown man, Cody Deaner, has arguably the best gimmick for live audiences going aside from Danhausen. He's
Mm.
goofy, he's a caricature, and he's just likable enough that he's inoffensive in every city he goes because he's of every city he goes to. And fans love that shit. So I like this tag match. It wasn't anything to write home about, but I think it really shows why Cody Deaner is as good as he is. And I got to say this again. I think Elijah, again, shows how good he is in the ring. He's not someone I was ever high on. I wasn't very high on his signing. But he has so much latent athleticism that we haven't gotten to see during his time in the WWE. And we're seeing it now in TNA, and it's fantastic. Frankie continues to kill it. But
Yeah.
honestly, man, I think AJ Francis is just dragging down the roster.
Mm.
I'm not a fan of his. Like I've given him opportunities. His promo work's not great. His what was Crime Time's catchphrase? Wasn't it money, money, yeah, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
And all
Uh-huh.
AJ Francis is money, money, money. It's less fun. Like it's a rehash of a very fun, cool little tag team that we all enjoyed and probably should gotten more out of them. And he comes across as like a. Remember when the stories of the fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon?
Mm.
Do you remember those at all?
Vaguely.
So, for those who don't know, in '96, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall went to WCW and pretended to be Diesel and Razor Ramon in their build up to the launch of the NWO. The WWE decided to capitalize on this and announced that Diesel and Razor Ramon were coming back to the WWF. And it ended up not being Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. It ended up being some guy who I don't remember and Glenn Jacobs, aka. And fans hated it because they thought Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were coming back and said it was just the gimmicks that came back. It feels like AJ Francis is the fake Diesel, fake Kevin Nash, fake Scott Hall, fake Razor Ramon of Crime Time, and it feels like he's trying to cosplay a Shad Gaspar.
Mm.
But he lacks the
Quick question.
athleticism and the likable personality.
Likability. Yeah. Quick question. Was he more tolerant? I know you've never really been high on him, so like I said, you're always consistent with these how you feel about people, but was he more tolerable to you and more youthful um on the roster you felt when Angel was with him?
Angel?
I'm getting the names mixed up. The
Casey
young
Navarro?
man who got injured.
Casey
There
Navarro.
it is, Casey Navarro.
I actually
Okay,
think,
thank you.
and when I found out that this had happened, I laughed because I'm like, Jesus Christ, Tony Khan really is just hoarding talent. I had always thought that if they had signed Ashante, you could at least have something there with him. Like, right, you'd have that. Maybe nostalgia is not the right word, but like you could explore the potential that, well, or the hit row in WWE. It was him, Ashante, B-Fab, and Swerve.
Yeah.
I feel like if TNA had signed Ashante, they could have explored what Hit Row could have been in TNA,
Mm.
but for some reason they weren't interested in AEW was for some reason. I feel like there's I don't want to say potential. I feel like you could keep AJ Francis around if you have a tag team partner for him that works with him. I don't think Casey or Rich Swan were really those guys. if you can find someone who can pair with him, someone who gives him that big size. Maybe you do Baron Corbin or Donovan Dijak. Maybe you call up Ezekiel. He's only 47. He's not 50. Call up Ezekiel Jackson. Be like, hey, you want to tag up with AJ Francis? Maybe you could find something there, right? But as a single star, he lacks everything. He's not likable enough or hateable enough. He's not a great auditor. He doesn't speak well. He doesn't have like the the what I'm looking for. He doesn't have the cadence and almost awareness to cut promos that captivate. And it feels like a lot of his promos make you feel like you're waiting to get to the end. Unfortunately, that's the case with a
Mm,
lot of modern day promos. Like, he's not alone in that. It's the WWE system. It's how they teach you how to cut promos. It's why
yeah,
so many of them can't. But then you get him
yeah.
in the ring, and even though he's a former NFL player, I feel like I'm watching a dude with two left feet. Like
Mm,
he doesn't
yeah,
have the base needed. He's not like he's a big. He's 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", and it looks like every time he throws a clothesline, he's letting the guy run into him instead of taking off their head. Now, granted, I don't want you to actually take off the guy's head. That's mean. But like it feels like he's doing the best he can, and the best he can still looks pretty damn fake.
mm.
And it's the same issue I had with Baron
Yeah, I think.
Corbin. Like it's this softness that they bring to the sport when they're supposed to be these big, imposing former offensive linemen.
Yeah, and he's another one that found a better spark for me as a viewer because I've been off him for years. But when they put him with Breaker, um, I think he admit it reinvigorated him. But yeah, I mean, I found more use for AJ, I think than you have. But
Mm-hmm.
I think he was far more entertaining and watchable for me when he was with KC, and I saw a lot of potential in KC and what he was doing. And obviously, had he not got in there, I think he'd be deep into the X division right now, doing his thing. Or maybe they still have him with Francis, but doing a little bit of both. But um, yeah, I think Francis served his purpose. I kind of called it wrong. I thought him and Cass wasn't gonna mesh as well as they did, but they did quite well, staying out each other's way and still being effective. Uh, but didn't get the win. No, they did get the win. So Cass still proves even at his age he can still get the job done. Like I said, Francis works really good in spots and scenarios, kind of how like they use Young. I think that's where he kind of thrives at. And much like you with Elias, um, yeah, I saw sparks of what we're getting now in WWE, but he was never like you said allowed to really go there. I think there was a few times when I saw it. Um, I think he had a match with Cena. I want to say, but yeah, he's a guy that's going to be if he stays, he's going to be a guy I could easily see being put towards the main event spot, or maybe going after somebody like him and Mustafa running it back should the title come into play between them. So
I do think if Santana leaves, because I feel like Santana and Leon Slater are the next in line to be signed by other companies. Because TNA is just getting fucking reamed by AEW and WWE with all these fucking and none of them are going to anything. Like, what is Jordan Grace doing? She didn't even win. Did she even win the NXT Women's title?
no, I think she was hovering around the NXT. I think she might have hovered around it briefly and then hovered around the NXT North American Women's title, but he failed to Blake Monroe of all people. So it's like they haven't done anything. Well, she hasn't even caught up to the main roster yet. So yeah, she's just getting paid maybe less than what she was getting in TNA. I don't know.
She might be getting paid a little bit more, but she was also making more money as a whole only because she was able to do other outside
Outside
ventures.
stuff.
So like she
Yeah,
was making more, just not more um in TNA specifically.
yeah.
Yeah, she hasn't even won single WWE championship. In there over.
When she's been a champion, when she came with it from another company.
And she is officially on the SmackDown brand. That's so fucking pathetic that they're so poor.
That's how much she hasn't been used. I literally forgot she was on SmackDown. Yeah, she did. She definitely. That's how much she hasn't been getting used. She had a match with Jade Cargill to make Jade look come on good, and we haven't seen her since.
Listen, that's a tall task, man. That's a tall task to make Jay look good. Speaking of people who look good, though, we then move from the victory of Kazarian and Francis to the announcement that I think a lot of people were a little taken aback by. The TNA, not AEW, not WWE, has signed Ricky Souza, and Tommy Dreamer and then Chris Bay came out to announce it. And I'm hoping that Chris Bay is mobile enough because, like, one of the things with neck and spine injuries, it makes traveling so much more uncomfortable. You can tell just by watching Bay the way he walks. It's it's going to be a long road to recovery if he ever fully recovers. Like you can tell, there's still some issues with maybe the pain, the uncomfortability, the lack of confidence. Like all this stuff goes into that. But if Bay can travel, I think Sosa needs Chris Bay as a mouthpiece. I think the signing is fantastic. Ricky Sosa is a hell of a wrestler. His promo skills leave a lot to be desired. And I don't think it's because he's speaking in English, because I think he's from the Netherlands, right? I don't know what they speak in the
Yes,
Netherlands. Netherlandese? German?
yeah. It's funny because I didn't. Cause I saw what you said about his promo, or keeping him the lack thereof for a promo before I heard him speak. I wonder what Dad saying was wrong with his promo, and then I heard all that. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, got it. That could obviously be improved, but yeah,
So the Netherlands are he's Belgium, not from the Netherlands. He's Belgium. I don't know what the language of Belgium is. Dutch.
I'll tell you one thing.
Official
Another
language:
thing that's
Dutch,
helping
French, and
that
German.
yeah, the other thing that's helping that language thing too is that song.
Right now, so that's the thing.
Yeah,
His promo skills are ass. He's also 20, 21. He'll be 22 in December, and he's already increased his physical look quite significantly. He kind of looked like he had the frame of BDE this time last year, and now he looks significantly bigger. Now he's not huge compared to other guys. Like the dude's 6'4", probably 220. So he's not like Ryback or whomever. Like he's not 6'7", 350 pounds of muscle. But compared to what he looked like, a year plus ago, he's been hitting the weight room, and that's going to be good for his long
yeah.
term success. He's working on his look. He's developed a great theme song, though. Some people in Europe are unhappy that he signed, which is weird because, like, get the fuck over it. Um, so he's got a lot of the elements. He needs work on his promos. Put Chris Bay out
Yeah.
with him, help him, get led into it, and I think he could turn into a really good mouthpiece for himself. He just needs experience. Like this roster suffers from two things: they're either all very young and very inexperienced, or all very old. There is no real in the between. You got Santana, maybe Macklin, a few others, but for the most part, they're either all under 25 or they're all over 50.
Is Tesla 30 yet?
Tessa should be. I think she might be 31. Tessa's 30. She'll be turning 31 in July. So she's
Yeah,
also
so
right
she's
there
another
in,
one.
in the prime age group.
Yeah, but she, it's the fall from grace. It could be studied. Um, but yeah, you're on 100%. First off, it's just good to see Chris Bay anytime we do get to see him.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, hope in some form or fashion TNA is helping him out. Um, which could be increased, like you said, if he becomes a manager for somebody like Sosa, which probably likely needs to happen. That'd be really good just to keep him on TNA TV and that whole deal, because he could essentially help him navigate a lot of those waters on the ropes. That obviously he can't probably get in there and box with him, but just his mind for stuff, I think it helped that kid out a lot. So hopefully that's the direction they go. But yeah, hell of a signing. So they showed it's a level of genius here. It's just we needed to be consistent.
Here's hoping. We'll get to more about this match here in a little bit, but we had the triple threat match with Dani Luna, Li Ying Li, and Ariana Grace. Ariana Grace is the worst women's wrestler TNA has ever had that is actually a wrestler. I'm not going to say that Charmel and Jenna Maraska are better. They're not. I'm not going to sit here and say, though, that there isn't a 99.9% chance that anyone else you name is better than her. Jessica Havoc, awesome Kong the third time around when her knees were shot. Sienna, Laurel Van Ness, Maria, Allie.
Velvet Sky.
Yes. Madison Rain, Angelina Love when she was possessed by Winner. Christy Hemme.
Jesus.
There, Marcus, I've never seen a woman so bad in this company that they had to write her out of her own match because she was so bad. If
She's
the
another
match
one
was
of those
12
that
minutes,
like.
right? If the match was 12 minutes, Ariana Grace spent 10 of it outside the ring.
Yeah, and considering the fact that her boyfriend is supposed to be permanently outside the ring, he spent more time in the match than it felt like she did.
Right?
Um, for some interference. But yeah, she it's just like I said, you can't much like Jade, but to a much less talented degree. If she wrestled as good as she looked, this is a different conversation.
At least with
But for
Jade,
as good as she,
there's athleticism.
yeah,
Like Jade is an athlete. She's a power lifter. She's
yeah,
got decent hand-eye
hmm
coordination. The problem is she doesn't like for whatever reason. Jade's way of thinking does not correlate to putting together a good wrestling match. That's life. Like I don't know how many times we've seen wrestlers who have the athleticism, have the look, have the aura, but then get in the ring and just can't.
yeah.
Ariana has
It's
none of that.
none of it. It's and like not at all. Like, and then Santina can get in there and do a little bit when he needs to. But yeah, she didn't get any of that. And it's yeah, like you said, this might be the least talented knockout champion we've ever seen. And considering the fact that the X division, thank God, it's on later. Um, and TNA knockouts are two of the pillars of the company. They really like they could have put it back on Ming Ling Lee. Um, and I haven't necessarily been the biggest fan. I think I need to sit down and watch her more. But this is I don't understand about it here. You can continue to partnership, but keep these championships out of it. We played that game back and forth, hot potato. It's an unfair game of hot potato. Um, but yeah, they need to drop this. They need to drop it now. We know who they should have dropped it to, which was Luna. Or like I said, Ming Ling, but they need to get that title off of her. She's in a faction now in NXT. The birthright with her stacks. Um, and I think Finley and Regal's kids or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, she's not a consistently featured talent, and she won't be because they know what we're witnessing now that she does not have it like that. And the women are the only thing holding up NXT in a lot of ways. So it's like I don't know what the logic is here. I don't get it, and that decision making may very well have cost them dearly because of it.
So 3 of the last 5 champions have been WWE stars: JC Jane, Kalani Jordan, Ariana Grace, and they've all been terrible. They've all been just the absolute drizzling shits of talents. They're none of them are good. and like Ash by Elegance was not an improvement. Li Yingli was, but like if we're going off of like a 10-point scale, JC Jane's a 3, Kalani's a 2, fucking Ariana Grace is a goddamn -4, Ash is a 2.5, and Li Yingli's a 5. Like none of these are top tier talents. Li Yingli is, I think, fundamentally sound. Me and my brother were watching wrestling Friday, so like I'm living the life. And I had made a comparison to it that I think is very apropos. I don't know if you watched a lot of him, but if you watched him in the late '90s, I think Li Yingli is a 1-to-1 of Prince Iakea from WCW, former cruiserweight champion, former TV champion. Did all the little things right. You put Iakea in a match with anyone, you're getting a watchable match. You do anything else
Hmm.
with them, and they're just not interested. And that's Li Yingli. She's a good hand. You put her out
Hmm.
there, she'll make a lot of people look a lot better than they are, but she won't ever deliver a banger. She won't ever give you a match of the year. She won't ever make you think, "Oh my God, 1,000 new fans were born today." But she's good enough, and sometimes good enough is good enough. Sometimes having a talent who's just good enough to be good in the ring is all you need, because then you have people like Rosemary who 40-41. Her knee has not been, great since she, blew it out, all them years ago. She really lost a lot of her athleticism then. And, naturally aging has taken a lot out of her. Allie, someone who's never been overly athletic. Havoc, who might or may not be back. Then you have like Mila Moore, who could be in the ring with someone who is a bit more experienced. Putting them in there with a Li Yingli will make their matches infinitely better with what she can do and helping to cover up all the things they can't, right? But she's not a star. She's not the person you put at the top of your roster. You're not the one. She's not the one to build a roster around. She's still infinitely
Yeah.
better than the other four women who have held this belt since JC Jane won it in Slammiversary. And unfortunately, you went from Jordan Grace, who held it for 287 days, and then you lost it to Masha, and she was supposed to be the next big star. Now, Masha lost the belt at Slammiversary, but she wasn't in trouble yet. It wouldn't be until a little significantly later time period where we would find out about Masha and all of the troubles that she has caused. But you lose basically your top two wrestlers in the division. So I'm not really that surprised looking at this that the knockouts division's in the place that it's in, because they're not building up new stars. They're relying on NXT stars who, to be quite honest, aren't going to be in WWE in 5 years. JC Jane's not going to be in the WWE in 5 years. Kalani Jordan's not going to be in the WWE in 5 years. Ariana Grace isn't going to be in wrestling in 5 years. So, like, they're focusing on the wrong people, and it fucking shows. It really just fucking shows. We get the return of Jessica Havoc with a Mila Moore situation. That's a thing. Mara Sade is kind of getting wrapped up in the conversations with Rosemary and company. We'll see how that goes. I'm warming to Mara Sade.
Mm.
She's not a complete wrestler, but she's athletic enough that she can cover up for the mistakes that someone who's not the most in tune with the ebbs and flow of a wrestling match will make. And I think that's going to
Yeah.
help her. I don't know if she's going to be Knockouts champion. I don't know if she should be. I am at the point where if you put her in the right tag team, you might have a really good a tag team duo with Mara Sade. What do you think of Mara Sade so far?
I'm glad she came to TNA. I'm glad TNA got her because she dug her and Lash together, but she was never going to be able to shout out low level standing next to Lash. They saw Lash. She got the size. Lash really feel like she got everything, and Mara didn't shine as much in that tag team. Like she was able to hide a lot of it behind Lash, and now she gotta have to stand on her own. And I think forced her to get better. I think the release. and now getting the chance to really stand on her own and TNA has kind of pushed her, remotivated to get better. She's getting better. I think this match proved that she got a swagger and a presence about herself that you get as soon as she comes out. That to me, even if they are on the same level in ring wise to a point, from a presentation perspective, I feel like she roads ahead of Alana Black, who was another name that you know makes both of us scratch our head, but it's what it is. But yeah, I think she's only gonna get better. You can easily, I think, put her with a tag team, but I like what they're doing with her, slow kind of building her up. It's
Hmm.
gonna be interesting seeing who they run her into next, or how long they continue this program between her and Elena Black. Um, Obviously names like Tasha are currently occupied.
We move on to the tag match. Stray and Jada Stone. One of the more exciting matches on the card. Is it Jada, Jada,
Yeah, Jada.
Jada? Like, we knew she was good, right? New level. Like, she upped her game to a whole new level in this match. I think we can punch up a little bit, find the right style for her, and she could be a fucking super. She is incredibly talented, super athletic, but has a timing that wrestlers need that not every super athletic wrestler will end up developing. I think she's, a superstar makeover away from being the face of the Knockouts division for 5 years.
Mm,
I think she really has all the talent. The only problem is, I think she need
undersized.
no. I think her look needs a little bit of work. Like
Okay,
it looked very much like she was coming off of an indie show. That's never how you want to get
got you.
over. But her biggest obstacle isn't going to be her fault. I do not know if the TNA Knockouts roster is talented enough to work with her. I think Tasha is. Tessa is. Ironic.
Yeah.
But the other next
Huh.
talent, Dani Luna, we'll get to that here in a little bit. But if you know what's going on with Dani Luna, then you
What
know why that's an issue.
what what about somebody? Would you run? Because obviously Tessa has this group with her now. Would you do a thing that they're doing similar to Moose, but with her, where obviously Tessa's the big boss, but you run her through Alicia Fox for a little bit, who at least has some experience in some regard.
No, because Alicia, listen, I'm glad that Christina Crawford is getting paid. I'm glad that she's back in the wrestling zeitgeist. I'm glad that people are getting to know her because Alicia Fox has long been, as anyone who's listened to the show for any long periods of time knows. Big fan. It was never because she was a good wrestler, though, because she's not. Never was. Now at 40, you can tell that she lost a step. She's not. She was never a super athlete to begin with, and now she's a little bit slower. She works in the role she's in, but asking Jada Stone to have a good match with Crawford is. I think you'd have a better chance with Mila Moore. They know each other. I think when they had their first TNA match, they tagged together actually. So I think if you want to go that route, you would go with Mila Moore. But I don't know if Mila Moore's been pushed into the same set of talent that Tasha was in this match. Like Jada's gonna push you. She's gonna push you to the limits of your talents. She's faster than you. She's more athletic than you. She has a true understanding on how body movement works, which is something that not everyone knows. You know, and I don't know if someone like Milo Moore is gonna, or some of the other knockouts are gonna have the ability to comprehend just how fast and how much force Jada Stone's gonna bring to any match. I think Tasha, and Tessa can. I think they're your best bets to get a good match out of Jada. But I think when you look at the rest of the roster, it's a lot of talent that I'm left head scratching. Like maybe Maggie,
Yeah.
M by Elegance. She is. a blue chipper for a reason. But I think that's it. I think like you're three deep, maybe
If
four deep.
if if you had to run her with any of these returning knockouts that we're gonna get to, would you?
I think your best bet would be Taryn. Mickey, even the last time she had a big run in TNA, you could tell Mickey's knees were shot. Like she didn't have the
Yeah.
same giddy up, she didn't have the same chutzpah. And considering the way she wrestles, there was a while where she was doing that double knee sit up where she would jump onto the people with her knees first. It's gonna fuck your knees up, man. That's just how it is. Plus,
Yeah.
she did like 300 shows a year for a decade. Takes a toll. Karen, on the other hand, has not been through all that. Now, her back and neck are not the best. But Karen is also, I think she practices yoga. She's a stunt woman, so she knows all about body control and how to take a fall. And I
Yeah.
think you're not gonna get Kong Kim, you're not gonna get Parazzo Grace, but you're gonna get something interesting. I think with those two. And I think if you play the little big monster gimmick like we saw with like Will Ospreay and Vader back in the day, I think you could do a decent match with ODB, but you'd have to have ODB be a heel, and right now ODB is too damn likable. Plus, last I checked, I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure ODB takes her food truck with her to all the TNA events. So like she shows up and fans like buy her food. So like I don't know if you want to turn something like that heel. That seems dumb.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that too. It'll be interesting, but I definitely think you definitely, particularly what we're gonna get to later, you gotta look to invest in somebody like Mara and Jada, who just absolutely like, 'cause it's weird. We're gonna talk about the brains first, surely, but the way they booked the EY Slater match, the way that they booked his match, all showcasing the proper talent in really great ways. Somebody using logic, right? Maybe it's most of the performers, but like this was a beautiful showcase for and kudos to Mustafa because he's a big part of that. Very much played all the right keys here. He's another, like I said, he's an MVP of the promotion. They should really be thankful that he, somebody that wanted to stay longer. And I think he re-signed, so um, he's killing it. Big fan of Trey. Like this whole thing is working. I hope they don't milk it to death,
Mm-hmm.
but this whole thing is working, and Jada's getting better. And then Tasha, she always does her thing. But yeah, she was the highlight of this match, even in a losing effort, and she's only gonna get better.
I would agree. Moose and Eddie doesn't actually happen. Special Agent Zero gets involved. Um, Moose ends up winning by disqualification. What I will say is Eddie looks like he's getting in better shape. I think he's prepping himself for a world title run. He's got more definition.
Mm,
He looks like he's lost some weight, and he's moving a little bit better. And these are big things that I've been kind of hoping he would realize on his own if he wants to be a world champion again, especially at 40. He's got to get his diet under control. He's got to work on, rehabbing his knees and getting back to close to the Eddie we were seeing, 2020 and before. And I really feel like
hmm
he's gotten there because he just looks more svelte. He looks more in shape. He looks like he's in a better situation. And I think they're building up to a title change at Rebellion. Now it might be a little bit of a hot shot, but I don't think necessarily so because they've been building up Eddie as a world champion since he won the briefcase and even a little bit before then. So with him and the new system around him, I think you could end up seeing, and we'll talk a little bit about the Rebellion card here at the end. I think you could see the system having every belt they fight for. I think Cedric could win the X Division. I think Brian Myers and Bear Bronson could win the tag belts. And I think Eddie will win the world title. I think it's either going to be a clean sweep of wins or they're all going to lose. There's going to be no in between. No in between.
Yeah, you
Um,
think him and Moose feud over the world title?
I think that might be your Slammiversary main event, if I'm being honest. And I think, and again, like
Okay.
I keep like hoping that what we end up getting is Moose and Eddie in the main event Slammiversary, and then Sammy Callahan comes back to aid Moose. Now, I don't think you move the belt back to Moose. I think you set Eddie up to drop the belt to whomever you want to take over as the face of the company, because I think Santana might be leaving at the end of the year. That's a gut feeling. It's not some news thing. I just think it's a gut feeling.
Yeah,
Plus, TNA is going to be in Cleveland next Saturday. EC3 has been working alongside TNA a little bit between promotions. Um, what Johnny Bravo came down and worked with EC3's promotion to scout talent and to run some seminars. I don't know if that means EC3 is coming back, or if that means they're going to find another guy or two from Exodus Pro, which is EC3's promotion, to call up to TNA. But there's too much camaraderie right now between EC3 and Exodus and TNA to not think that maybe a return is possible. And if EC3 returns to the promotion, all bets are off. All bets. um, the Marsade Elena Black match wasn't good. That had nothing to do with Marsade. Elena Black is just not very good at wrestling. Um, she wasn't good her first time around when she was working in TNA as a member of the NXT roster, and she's still not good now. But like, cool. I don't want to spend too much time on this match. I don't feel like slamming Alana Black for 10 minutes. So like, we're just gonna move on. We got the Jeff
yeah,
Hardy and Vincent match versus Brian Myers and Cedric Alexander. Solid little match. Kind of the most telegraphed reveal of all time, where Dutch was revealed to be the one who attacked Matt Hardy by attacking Matt Hardy again. And then Vincent's like, oh, well, and beat up Jeff Hardy. So, like, I don't know what the end game here is. I think if anyone takes the belts off of the Hardys, it's going to be Myers and Bear Bronson. So, like, though that being said, I will say I kind of like Myers and Cedric Alexander more as a tag team. I think they have great chemistry. And I'm just thinking, like, why not just put Bear in the X Division? That'd be funny. We've already had guys like Abyss and Samoa Joe and others hold the belt. Brian Cage. Why not Bear? You know?
yeah. Like you said, telegraphed. It was me, Flash. It was me all along. Yeah, that's what we
No. Hardy
like you said,
run.
potentially looking for the yeah, potentially looking for those tag titles to potentially go elsewhere. Because I'm not really I haven't really been big on Vincent and his guy. I mean they've been useful um against this hard thing. I wonder if this whole all this is being used to go back into the brokenness stuff of it all.
Hmm.
Um, since they've been real heavy with the skits of it all with Rosemary. That may be where they're going with this. And you don't necessarily need the title for this. Um, so it'll be interesting. This, because they've been playing mind games with them, like you said, for the longest time, even if it was telegraphed as all hell. And we know how the hardest can get with mind games.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be something that they could easily do. Like I said, the great thing about them being the TNA is they can dip into each into the totality of their bag.
Mm-hmm.
They want to go old school Hardys, current Hardys, and then all of their different iterations. You can stay away from cold blooded Matt Hardy. Um, to keep that in the back. But yeah, this could be something they could do. But yeah, like you said, the match was fine, but I'm glad they finally got this out of the way so we can move on to something else.
I agree. Main event time. It was supposed to be. Um, oh wait, I forgot. We had the returns during the prior segment before the main event. The Elegance brand minus Ash were out. ODB, Taryn Terrell, and Mickey James all returned to the company. Although I guess ODB had been around for a while. Um, they all look fantastic, especially Taryn. Like, so I'm excited to see what this is going to look like. I hope Taryn Terrell is sticking around because I think her and Brooke Tessmacher as a tag team, even though they're both like 39 and 40 respectively, I think could be a lot of fun. They were two of the better athletes TNA had ever signed. Taryn Terrell did a lot of work in Hollywood as a stunt woman, and Brooke was just a good athlete. You could tell she came up through that pipeline of high school to college athlete. I think she played volleyball. I could be wrong on the sport. Maybe it's soccer. but it allowed them both to be kind of like the next in lines. So like, here's hoping. Um, ODB, I hope, has something left in the tank because she's such a character, and TNA lacks that kind of in-your-face character.
Hmm.
I could go 3 lifetimes without ever watching a Mickey James match, and still have seen too many Mickey James matches. That's the one downer. And she came out, and they're all like, "Yeah," and I'm all like, "Fuck."
Someone said he had hardcore. Like, "Damn."
I was hoping it was Brooke. I was hoping it was Tessmacher. I was hoping it was anyone.
Hey,
Roxy. Fucking Raka Khan.
that'll be hilarious. And then a random Kurt Angle fighting in the audience. But
Raka Khan comes out. We just jump
yeah.
cut to Kurt in the audience doing the Kurt Angle meme face.
Yeah.
The restraining
But
order has to be over by now.
so, yeah.
Right? Like, jeez. What do you think of the returns of Taryn and Mickey and ODB to the ring? Did I lose you, Marcus? I think I may have lost him momentarily. We'll bring him back and ask him. I think there's going to be a fun little match at Sacrifice, getting these 3 legitimate legends of the division in there against the Elegance brand, two of which I think, M and Heather by Elegance, I think, are stars in the making. Just need more time. Marcus, what do you think of the
Indeed.
returns of these former legends?
I dug it. I thought it was cool. Like we kind of called it. And when I found out it was in New Orleans, I was like, wait a minute, isn't Taryn from New Orleans? And then spot on, bang on. She comes out. Of course, we talked about it. Like, when's the last time we even heard from Taryn and Brooke? So the fact that they randomly got into it with the Elegance people on social media is like, okay, this didn't just didn't come out of nowhere because they could have had plenty of time. This Elegance brand has been going for a while now. They could have been said something, so it felt like something could be brewing, and hopefully, it's a thing. To your point about Mickey, um, it's always cool to see and all that. Love Mickey. To me, she's gotten the best presentation execution of a flowers in TNA. But it'll be cool if it could be a thing where she, for whatever final reason, doesn't get physically involved and says she has somebody in her stead that could do it, and that could be the way they could usher Brooke back. That'll be cool. And she could take her spot physically in the match, and Mickey can kind of mitigate the chicanery around the ring, if you will, um, in maybe a hardcore way. And then that'll get the job done, bringing in Brooke and take away you ever having to see her in the ring in this instance. So that could be a thing. But yeah, it was just cool to see them. I'm glad they can do this. I'm glad they wanted to come back. I don't know how much involvement Candice has with this stuff when it comes to the knockouts. Um, but whatever however she's involved, I'm just glad to see it. It'll be cool if maybe this would not be the best thing, but if they could, get somebody like SoCal or somebody like they got a number of people they could really um play with. Obviously not a former knockout legendary knockout champion, because I think there's a legal matter there. But yeah, this was just really cool to see.
Well, it wasn't so cool for me. Now, we'll get to the good parts about this. They were building this up. And I don't know if I want to say that Macklin was set to win. It wouldn't have been surprising if he did with the way they were setting up Macklin. It was a great story. They did everything right. He came out with new gear, fresh shade face, like, damn. And then maybe 3 minutes in, Macklin just dips his chin too much on a sidekick from Santana and he knocks himself loopy. And I knew the minute it happened because he got kicked and he didn't let go of the rope as he fell. And his free hand that wasn't holding the rope corpsed on him, like it clutched. And I'm like, oh, God. I'm like, he's
Yeah.
either the best seller this company has ever had, which is saying something because they've had Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, Nick Nemeth, or he's fucked. And sure as shit, he tries to stand back up, and this what would have been hard hitting, amazing main event ends abruptly as the referee, whose name I forget, sprinted over and wrapped her arms around him, stopping any further action and making sure that Macklin was attended to and taken care of. Now, listen, as a fan, this match sucked. It ended after 3 minutes. We got no buildup. We got no execution. It just ended. And it felt so, ugh. As a human side, best fucking scenario you could ever have hoped for. The referee was on her fucking spot. She called for help nearly immediately. You had the ringside physician and the president of the company in the ring. Not only did they make sure Macklin was healthy, which is paramount, it is paramount to everything else. It is the most important thing. Not only did they make sure Macklin was safe and getting attended to, they then had Eddie Edwards run out from fucking nowhere and got involved. Now, I'm starting to think, as I'm saying all this, that maybe that was the ending. Santana goes over, Eddie comes out, and they maybe just sent Eddie early. Regardless, they did some great action, brawled for a few minutes. Santana put Eddie through a table to send the crowd home happy. It was not a good match, but considering the catastrophic ramifications of doing anything else, TNA made the right call. They ended the match early, and then they gave us something. It was Eddie and Santana in a brawl, but it was something. And I think that is the perfect
Yeah.
ending to a unfortunate night.
Yeah. I like this show. We've really been, for the most part, positive about this show. Obviously, it's had its moments. Could have did without, but overall, I thought it was a solid show. And I think this is more of a thumbs up and a thumbs down, even with what happened, because this is what you want to see from a professional wrestling company. Um, we have literally seen people die in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have seen somebody doing a suicide dive and breaking their neck used as a highlight, and just a myriad of other stuff that has occurred that was not handled in the best of ways, considering um, what is supposed to be the standard of alleged standard of care. This is kudos all around. Um, Kudos to Macklin for being who he is. I would imagine he wanted to keep going, but that's just not. That wasn't up to him at that point. Kudos, all the kudos in the world to that beautiful referee. Um, who absolutely stood in the gap for him. Kudos to Santana because he didn't stay professional, stayed on cue, kind of stayed in the moment as much as he could because he had to continue to try to keep some momentum about himself and played to the crowd. He did the best he could. Kudos to the people in the back for calling the audible, sending Eddie out there. Kudos to Eddie for being a sacrificial lamb in that moment. Obviously, they're gonna have to play off of that. And for as much as we probably go get off into more head scratching stuff, this was not one of them. Kudos to Carlos Silva coming down there, immediately recognizing what happened, and they took care of that talent.
They did. They
That's
really did.
that. That's what you want to see at the end of the day. They took care of their talent, and if you have any qualms as a wrestling fan, particularly as a hardcore TNA fan, with what they did, which was absolutely the right thing to do all the way around, and sent the fans home with a moment, can't ask for nothing better than that. I mean, they literally made chicken salad out of chicken shit, and yeah, like I said, kudos to them. They just got to rebound off it,
Yep,
and thankfully
exactly.
Macklin's okay, which is yeah.
And that's the most important thing, truth be told. Um,
Yeah.
so that being said, we do have to address that one of the wrestlers who's still listed on the TNA roster page, which shouldn't tell you much of anything because like Dani Luna is set to leave the company. She asked for her release and she got it. And I can't believe this is happening. I'm perplexed, mad. I was telling my girl, I'm like, Dani Luna is the next fucking face of this franchise. She's the best all around wrestler they have in this division. I think
Hmm.
she's ready to carry it now, and I think she would have been perfect for Jada Stone to pair off of. In 6 or 7 months when Jada was more comfortable, with facing a town of a little bit more credible experience. For her to request her release, I don't know why. Could have been pay. Could have been putting over Ariana Grace. Who knows? I'm not gonna speculate. I don't fucking know. The fact though that she's gone further states a lot of the issues within TNA at the moment. Uh, Part of the reason that people should be worried is they lost Dani Luna, Steph Delander, Mance Warner, all to kick off the year. They lost the Rascals. Now, granted, they didn't technically lose them because they never really used them, but they lost Mike DeVecchio, who's now in Evolve. They're rumored to be losing Leon Slater. Mike Santana is doing the NXT run, which we know is usually the death nail for his career in the company. The Hardys are 50 and can't keep carrying. Like once the Hardys, this is not a brand being carried by NXT. This is a brand being carried by the Hardys. And once Matt and Jeff leave, either because they retire or return to the WWE, I wouldn't be surprised if they're fucking attendance graders. I wouldn't like, at all. So I'm worried that this is a sign of bigger concerns within the company that we're not addressing. Um, Margaret, thoughts on Danny Luna leaving?
Right with you, man. Like you said, Chad was going through some weather the other night.
Yeah, we had a
Um,
pretty violent thunderstorm. Had tornado warnings going
yeah,
off and
yeah,
everything.
yeah. Glad y'all got through that. But in the midst of when I saw that, I was like, "You got to be freaking kidding me!" And I was literally about to text Chad, but I'm like, I immediately like, okay, I don't know what his battery life is on, so I'm gonna be mindful of that. But I'm like, I'm sitting, I'm literally typing out the message in my head. I'm like, "Oh, bro, heads up, TNA, TNA again, say TNA again." Like, and obviously, the internet kind of got many ablaze about this, and also, like you said, we don't know from a can of paint, we don't know why this happened. Um, and obviously, you don't need to heap a wave of crap on Ariana Grace, who is just doing what she gets paid and told to do, even if it shouldn't be what she uh, get to do, in terms of positioning her where she is currently. But that aside, Dani Luna was killing it. You know, I dug her when she was with Jody Threat and that tag team. But they split them, and she had to build off of that as best she could. I thought she would have got to a point where she was looking good, sounding good, everything of the music, all of it, presentation. And I just really felt like she had next, and they, for whatever final reason, didn't give it to her. I don't know if they maybe potentially knew ahead of time before that match that she could be potentially leaving. Doesn't sound like that's how that went, but she just, like you said, she should have been next up, and it sucks because she's extremely talented, and she should have been somebody we saw just have just a hell of a run for the next year or so, and further past that. But like I said in that tweet, another one bites the dust. So we'll see how this goes. But she is clearly, I mean, this is clearly showing signs of something because, like you said, this is it's not random. This is showing beginning to show a pattern throughout the year. That was certainly coming off the start of the year. That people are seeing that the sun may be brighter shining elsewhere. And obviously, TNA has been a stepping stone before, but to a far better degree than what it feels like they are right now. We've been, talking about the numbers and the talent that they have, don't have, or should have for a while now, and I can see sparks of momentum potentially building with this young knockouts roster, and they're bringing in back legends now. But you can't build to a quality point losing talents at the level of somebody like Danny Luna. Like we talked about it, we know what Tesla can do, but as talented as she is equally as much as she kind of created her own character in a lot of ways. So you can't really go there. and Jada and Mara are building, but they
Mhm.
need talent like Dani Luna on that level to even things out. And was touted as the knockouts have been a foundational point of that company. They are pissing all that away by having on Ariana Grace. That knockout out on Ariana Grace. And it's not that we don't have nothing against that young lady. She's Santino's daughter and the whole nine and all that stuff. But this is not the direction they need to be going, and they need to course correct. And hopefully they've seen all this fodder and whatnot on social media, and somebody heeds to the criticisms because they definitely need to change course.
Agreed completely. That takes us to our final talking point of the day. Hopefully, we can get off of area politics and on to more talented women. That may happen at Rebellion. It may not. We have 6 match cards so far for the show. That's next Friday or next Saturday. Excuse me. Trey Miguel will take on Mustafa for the International Championship. Leon Slater's taking on Cedric for the X Division. Bear and Brian Myers are taking on the Hardys for the TNA World. Frankie Kazarian and Elijah are going to wrestle in a singles match. A 6-woman hardcore country tag team match featuring the Elegance brands Ash, Heather, and M by Elegance taking on ODB, Mickey James, and Taryn Terrell. And then the main event is going to be Eddie Edwards cashing in his feature fired briefcase against Mike Sam. It's a quick build for sure. The Hardys, Leon Slater, and Mike Santana, I would say aren't. Leon and Cedric were supposed to wrestle a couple months ago, but travel issues got in the way. Um, they've been building up the idea of the system wrestling the Hardys for a while now, and Eddie's had the briefcase, if not a couple months. So it's not the most shocking thing altogether. But I would say that right now the rest of the card feels a little bit weak, and I'm a little worried about because they're gonna have at least 2 more main card matches. I'm worried about what those are gonna be, plus the pre-show. I would have to imagine that Rosemary and Allie are going to be featured heavily, at least heavily enough to matter. But as far as anything else, I don't know what else could be on this show, truthfully. Are you at all excited about the Rebellion?
Yeah, I'm digging the stuff that they put together so far, but at the same time, I mean, we talked about this, like it felt like because Rebellion one of their bigger shows,
Yes,
the actual pay per view, correct?
it's one of their 4 pay-per-views.
Yeah. So yeah, let's see. Let's go to the thing, and I mean, the good news is with the way the show ended up ending, unfortunately, you can play into a lot of different stuff. We got him and Eddie, different fan off of that. Hey, that kind of that tag match leans towards where you were talking about going with system.
Yeah, I think the system have an impressive mix.
The system could sweep, like you said. Um, you said when is that? That's but we got another week. Yeah, so they could build. This, I mean, also you got some stuff with. I mean, I would imagine they do what Troy and Mustafa. Could you add that?
Well, Trey Mustafa's already on the card. They're doing the International Championship
Okay,
match.
gotcha. You're right. Yeah. So okay, you got that. Would you put something else with the women on there? Um, Jada and Tasha potentially with a stipulation.
Maybe. You still need the Knockouts title. I don't know who you'd even go in and put her against.
Man, are we getting to the point now where this is the best of the worst option?
Yeah, and honestly, with considering the rest of the roster, I wouldn't even say best of the worst. Tessa's not a good person.
Yeah.
The racism incident with what was her name, Negro Rosa Negra,
Yeah.
aside, not even counting that, which I feel is like easy fruit to pick. She left TNA and took the title with her. She was apparently such a bully with the women wrestling roster, they fired her not only as their champion but as their head trainer. They also had issues with her in NXT. Daga, her former husband, has not been too pleasant about her whenever he's spoken about her. There's a lot of reasons to make you think Tessa's just a bad person, though that's, subjective. I don't know her. But I would still say at this point in time, she's probably your best option, period. She's still,
Yeah.
with Dani Luna out, she's probably still your best wrestler. She's 30, she's in
Yeah.
great shape, she's been taking care of herself. She can still go. But I wonder, will fans accept her? Because wrestling fans are,
Yeah.
are, are pretty fickle, right?
Mhm.
They don't forgive easily unless there's somebody that they already like. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin was arrested for hitting his wife, and we've all just collectively accepted that happened, right? And no one seems to have a problem
Mhm.
with it. The Undertaker has told some wild fucking stories even before he retired about how he's just kind of a control freak and how he forces everyone to kind of kowtow to his beliefs in the locker room with all these mock trials. There were times when the women were, like 2004 with the dodgeball game, where that stuff was being, where like the divas were held to account for losing a legitimate game, and like he made them pay up, and everyone's like, why? It's like there's been instances where guys and gals just don't have great reputations and somehow get looked past. They don't get hounded upon. They don't get dismissed. I'm not saying Tessa should be forgiven. I'm just saying, there are people who are advocating for Chris Benoit to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if we just accept Tessa as champion, but like
Yeah.
I can think of a couple worse options on this roster right now than Tessa. I don't know about you though.
I mean, I would like for them to build and getting it back on Rosemary before we see the last of her.
That would be great. I
You
would love
know?
a title run, especially with a rebuilt
Yeah.
DK.
Yeah, man. That's with her as a de facto definitive leader. Yeah, that would to me that would be great. And then you can kind of just have her because she'd have her own faction, and you can kind of just build out from that. Um, and in that time, also guys like Jada and Mara and those young ladies around Tessa will be improving and getting better. And obviously, I think you would, have to throw Tessa in there because she is one of your most chick.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, you find yourself in a sticky wicket here. I'm looking forward to seeing what they add to Rebellion. But it looks like I said, I appreciate what they did with Sacrifice. That was better than I expected. Uh, and even with the least TNA, usually they never have a talent problem in terms of that what goes on in between those roles. So they definitely always deliver there, and they deliver. But like you said, Rebellion geeked up for it now. But I do like the fact that it is in your backyard to an extent.
Mm.
Um, so hopefully they put together something coming up in the week because, like I said, the benefit they have to how that show had to end, you can build a lot of stuff off of that.
I agree. It could be a very exciting pay per view. I'm intrigued to see what they do with the rest of the card. As you said, I'm in agreement with you. I am curious though if they can add anything worthwhile to the show that would make me want to watch it more. But for right now, I'm
Mhm.
intrigued enough. So we'll see what ends up happening. Any final thoughts on this week's show, Marcus?
TNA fans, man, again, just in the field, right? We just gotta hang in there. Um, they have been doing some positive stuff and whatnot, and I do appreciate. I don't know, briefly talked about this before. That we went live, but they kind of been doing in participation trophies, and those are cool morale builders and boosters. And I think they work best when you have situations that went on with Macklin, and you can shout out name, the likes of the referee, and I think they also gave a nod to one of the longtime producers, executives over the show. So I dig that. They do have their positives in the companies. Just when they feel like they fumble stuff like they did with Luna and other stuff, uh, it's just concerning. But other than that, uh, I appreciate the sacrifice.
Sacrifice was a good show, and I'm optimistic that Rebellion can be at least as good on quality level. Um,
Yep.
so we'll see. We'll see. Then I think we're good to go. For Marcus, I'm Chad. Be sure to check out the website, realnerdcorp.com. Find us on our respective Twitter accounts. With the websites is Nerdcorp, NERDCRP. Marcus can be found on his personal at ParadoxKid, PARADOXKID.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, over on Twitter at True Penny Show, TRUEPENNYSHOW. I'm on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, CHDNERDCRP, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at CHDSPHUTOHUT. Marcus, what are you guys talking about this week on the True Penny Show?
This week, and we're going to be looking at some stuff from TJPW. But you can, like I said, right now, go check out that uh, first part for us, the life and times of One Fit Friendly. Go check that out, and obviously everything coming off of the New Japan Cup is up there as well. But upcoming, we will be talking about some stuff going off TJPW. So be on the lookout for that.
For Marcus, I'm Chad. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good night.